So the next step, after stretching that on, we've got tight spots and loose spots. So we have to get a round piece of conduit in between the tire and the rim, rotate the rim 3 or 4 times around, and then the stresses of it kind of equalize. You'll have to give me some room to get this in, get it through. Alright, so I'm going to roll it towards you. Should use the shorter one. Yeah, the bigger diameter one gets it a little bit further away from the...
Yeah, but these aren't long enough to go through it.
You need to bring this hand down and this hand up a little bit, and it'll lock it through. Now watch your fingers. Now you're way... keep it about there. Okay. Okay, one more time around.
Sure.
So in theory, now the stresses on the rubber are equalized all the way around. And we can start applying adhesive, but I think we'll get the lower one on first. And then start our adhesive process.
Oh. I think we did it with smaller ones and just went on the
You're right.
flange.
Yeah, let's do that. Now, watch out for that thing. It'll come flying at you.
It'll go faster now.
It's lighter.
Camera's not a good spot for this.
Well, there's no good way to film this.
Yeah, there is.
Alright.
Aren't you an engineer?
You think so? 30 years an engineer.
A couple of months a cameraman.
Yeah, a couple of months a cameraman.
Left some big old dents in the rubber.
They'll go away. Yeah, you already
And
can't.
then when we mill it, they'll turn into bumps.
No, you already can't feel them. Yeah, you
Yeah,
can.
you can. I can see them.
Well, we'll see if we can get the stretch out of it and yeah, you're right, because once it was stretched, now the width of it is like exactly the same as the wheel. Get ready to start putting the goop on.
Favorite part.
Yeah, I know. You want to do the upper wheel or the lower wheel first?
Let's do the lower one. We already got the camera on it.
Alright, and I'm going to go and I'm going to see if we have another can of this because I don't know that one of these is going to be enough to do both wheels. Screwdriver to do what? Oh,
So we have to put the pipe under it again to hold it up while you put the glue on.
Oh, that's right. That's what we did.
Dibs on not applying the glue.
Okay.
Had fun getting covered in little strings.
Yeah. All right, this is the least fun part of the job. Let's give that a try.
What?
Peeling up the edge of the rubber, painting underneath it, and then going a little. I think
No, you don't want to be unsticking the middle every time.
it won't.
Yeah,
you can
will.
You can only peel it up to about the middle.
But you're still going to be unsticking some of it that is already.
I can work. I can work fast. I think it's going to be better.
Come on.
No, I think it's going to be better. This way, I can't even see what I'm doing.
You don't have to see.
Yeah, let me try it this other way. Pull this out.
This is working fine, you know.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is, because I can see.
Pull this out.
Jesus. You're going to make it more difficult.
I don't think so.
Stuff cures pretty quick.
The one side's done.
Yeah, so like glue the other side before it cures and you're peeling up cured glue. By the time we got done with it last time, it was starting to cure already when we got around.
All right, does this mean you get to do the upper one?
Is that what that means?
I'm gonna be picking rubber goo off my hands for probably the next half hour.
Sounds like you should do the upper wheel then, because I don't have that problem.
That and my fingers are tired. I'm not gonna do as quality a job with tired old fingers.
You would just stick the pipe in it, then you wouldn't have to use your fingers. Jeez.
And we got our little brush. Okay, move forward some.
Well, that lasted about 30 seconds. So you clean off the tires ahead of me.
Sorry. You gotta get that far side. You're not getting all the way to the back. Looks pretty clean in here so far.
It doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
You can go a little further than that. From your view, am I getting it?
Just look for the glistening all the way. Start with the back and work your way to the front.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
It should bond to this one better than the metal, you
Yeah.
would think. This is one of those jobs where you sure pray you do it right, because it's such a pain in the butt to do over.
And we've done it over like twice now.
Well, first time we put new, and I'm using brackets, new tires on this thing, we bought them several years ahead of when we actually put them on, and they had
Like
drywall
10.
cracks in, or dry rot cracks in them. So we're like, yeah, should have put them on a lot sooner.
You bought the saw like the year I was born or the year before.
No, it was before, because we weren't even living here. We were living in Pocono, in a little 3-bedroom ranch, and I didn't even have any place I could put the saw. So I had my buddy John Kalachak. He offered to keep the saw for me in his garage. He had a bigger house with a 2-car garage, and he kept the saw for, I want to say, a couple years.
Did you buy the tires around that time?
No, I didn't buy them then.
Because I was like 16 or 17, I think, when we finished this.
I think I bought the tires probably when you said you were going to recondition it.
No, because I remember them sitting around. Are we there yet?
I think we're almost halfway.
Oh my god.
Just looking by where I see the glue starting. Yeah, I don't think we're halfway. Five-eighths done.
Oh my god.
0.6 for you metric folks.
0.625.
I just rounded it to decimal tenths so that people have a better concept of it.
Because the metric system is in tenths of an inch.
We're doing 8 centimeters at a time, I would say.
I would say less.
Yeah. Builds character. Also gets you high. So if you had a piece of conduit with holes drilled radially in it, you could pump it full of rubber cement, and as it came out through the holes, it would coat the entire tire. Maybe you can automate it that way.
I wonder if there's any of this stuff with like a longer working time that we could just paint the rim and then stick the tire on it. Be messy, but it wouldn't be as tedious.
I think a piece of rubber with a pre-made adhesive and a peel-off backing, and you stretch that all onto the rim and you peel the backing off of it.
Oh my god.
That would be an improvement. Somebody invent that. Yep, we only have 50 centimeters left. 16 inches. Probably if I do the conversion between those, I wasn't even close. How are we holding out on the glue?
It's barely going to be enough. I think I'm putting a bit more on this than you did on the bottom.
You think? I don't know. I squished out pretty much all the way around.
Just based on the level going down.
You could be wasting it.
A good amount of it is turning into string.
Yeah. And we are approaching the starting point. Actually starting to kind of sort of peel up what's there. So what's your plan on how we transition to the area that's already glued? Put glue around, all around.
Try to get some more in there because we're peeling it up.
Now let me roll this and coat the one area that you missed. Then I'll just pull it out.
Alright, that's good enough.
It's amazing how easily it slides back and forth. Alright, that's the most fun part out of the way. So all we gotta do is let that dry, mill it tomorrow. The fixture that I made to crown these tires, it's just a right angle plate with some gusseting to hold a plunge base router. It doesn't have to be a plunge base router, but the best one I have is this Makita, and I think it's a 3-inch long by 1/2-inch diameter straight flute bit, and this enables me to set up the base of the right angle plate with a shim, so I can tilt it a few degrees in this direction. By reversing the shim, I can tilt it in this direction. And this actually rides like this on the auxiliary base that's clamped to the table. So we're going to set up the angle, and then we're going to use the actual beveling feature of the table we can raise this up and bring it into contact with the tire, and we're going to be feeding the wheel into the rotation. So we're not going to be climb cutting, we're going to be conventional milling the edge of this tire. So what we have to do on the first pass is to mill so that we're consistently past the midpoint of the tire. So we get a cleanup cut that is consistently passed, and I say that because there's some variation. The edge of that cut is going to wave back and forth because the thickness of the tire is not perfect and the trueness of the bandsaw wheel is not perfect. So once we have the first pass, we reverse the angle of the taper, and then we attempt to very, very carefully get that second milled cut to end exactly on the center line of the bandsaw tire. So the base of the router fixture is 15 inches long, and the amount of taper that we need on this is 150 thousandths lift of the one end over the 15 inches, which is not much. It's basically an 1/8 inch per foot. So just going to take a couple of conventional shims, mark them where they're 150 thousandths thick. Get the mics here set for 150. And then we slip these under the back edge of the base until the lines are flush, and that's our correct tilt. This is a system I came up with to help determine how far I was milling the surface of the tire, putting a very shallow crown on here, actually 2 flats on either side of center. And these old eyes, it's difficult for me to determine on a solid black rubber tire where you're milling, with the router bit and where that cut stops. So this way, it's easy to see where you've milled off the paint lines, where that ends, and you can make sure that you're not milling too deep to where you're taking off more than you need to. You don't have a lot of tire to start with. You got maybe 3/16 of an inch, and by the time we mill the 2 shallow crowns on here, that edge gets fairly thin. This gives you an indication every 6 inches or so how far you're milling, and also because the tire isn't perfect, if there's any variation one area to the next. This is just latex paint. And I've got a nice wide band here. When we're bringing the cutter into the tire, we want to watch the progress of how that cut is going towards the center. The first cuts at the shallow angle, we go until it mills just past the center. And then we'll repaint the wheel and cut from the other side until we get that exactly centered. Then we've got to adjust the angles on the router setup and put a secondary bevel on the tires. What the hell happened there?
Turn the router off.
Huh?
Turn the router off.
I did. We toasted an extension cord. That's why everything's shut down.